tea house last week. We had about 60 people come through, um, and likely would have had more if some of our advertising efforts would not have fallen. Actually, they basically false started. When we tried to fire them up, the engine just did not work the way that it was supposed to, and I will just leave it at that. So in the future, doing more events with more planning, we'll be able to advertise and probably bring in much more people. Did everybody get a chance to kind of wander around and see and experience the space, or would you guys like to do a quick tour? I've definitely made a few changes that I want to show you that I think will really up-level the experience for people who may have had some trouble. Challenges. So I'm just gonna fire up a screen share really quick and try. If I start to drag this on too long, somebody just smack me in the head and be like, "Hey, this is getting boring."
Is there any more tea pets that I need to find?
How many did you find? Did you get all 16?
Yeah.
There were 16. So yeah, one of the so here we are in the entrance. And actually,
I found 14.
So you missed 2.
Yes, I know.
So one of the changes that we've made is now the tea house is always open 24/7. If somebody goes to virtualteahouse.com, they come to the front door. When they knock on the door, nobody's home because nothing's happening inside, but you can still enter. And there is a registration form below for people to be able to keep in touch. You'll receive an email with links and everything that needs to happen. So the days of getting lost going through Eventbrite, those are done. We've gotten rid of Eventbrite completely and gone all the way around. So some big changes that I've made. I have put in, now there's a map that'll be available. So the next time we do this, if it's kind of hard for some people, it's challenging to conceptualize in their head. I've added a map. So if you visit your map, then you get a picture of the map that I have yet to draw, but just demonstrating that now we have a map and a way for you to then download that and like keep it handy so that it'll be easier for you to navigate. In addition to that, there is a sign with today's activities. It was there last week. I have since improved it to not only have who is doing what, but where they are doing it. And there's a link here. So now from this sign, you could essentially teleport to any space that you want. You don't actually have to go through the choose your own adventure if that is not what you're looking to do, if that's something that's a little challenging. This is going to make a big difference for people that are joining us on cell phones, especially. That I'll recommend that this just kind of gets them into tea with somebody else faster.
Cool.
So those are like the big changes that I've made to try and make things much more accessible.
It's great.
For people that weren't aware, here again at the entrance, there was an envelope available with your name on it. If you went to the envelope, you found a T-Pet bingo card. And these T-Pets were hidden. Pictures of these T-Pets are hidden in links all over the tea house. So let's see if I even remember where some are. Probably up on the balcony. Here's a little bit of blue text hidden that is very easy to read right past. But if you notice that it's blue and you click on it, you find yourself a T-Pet and you get to mark them off on your bingo card. Mafalda, Priscilla, thank you guys so much for playing. The fact that you guys got into it made myself and Hannah so incredibly happy. It was actually Hannah's idea. She is probably the main inspiration for our T-Pet collection, because who doesn't like having cute little bunnies all over the tea table, right?
I love it, that idea. I just didn't know how to mark them in my bingo card.
You did great. Taking the screenshots was awesome.
And I put it all on my tea profiles. I hope there's no copyright.
No copyright whatsoever.
But I redirect people to thevirtualteahouse.com. So
that was great.
I hope they keep coming and playing. I had so much fun.
Good, I'm glad. So definitely. So if you went upstairs and into the balcony and looked through the curtain, you found yourself in basically like a yoga, what I was trying to describe of as a yoga studio. This is where Cami was serving tea. Big shout out to Cami for the way that her setup kind of really, to me, this looks like she could be in the yoga studio that was being described.
Yeah.
So that really is the kind of seamless experience that I am trying to create here. That by describing the rooms before somebody jumps into Zoom, we're already like setting their mind and immersing them into this experience. That we're creating a world. We're not just creating a network of Zoom calls that are all talking about tea stuff. And to me, that's really what's going to be the key in, like we were talking about, elevating our virtual gatherings. That's going to be the key, is how do we make these more immersive? How do we make the worlds actually feel as real as they are? So there was also, we had the atrium, which had this lovely, lovely garden. And then Cynthia from 1T, I don't know if she's on the call today or not, but she, again, like, fantastic job. Her tea table was like covered in plants. So you read this description of being in a big room covered in plants, jump into a call with somebody having tea, their tea table is covered with plants. And that kind of continuity, to me, really heightens the experience. So just to recap, we were on 3 stories. There was an upstairs, a ground floor. We had 3 events going on upstairs. We had 3 events going on down in the ground floor. 4 events on the ground floor, especially including the patio and some outside stuff. And then down in the basement, we also had 3 more events. So to me, with 10 rooms happening, we could have pretty easily accommodated anywhere from 100 to 150 people. That assume a decent amount of those people are all meandering about and exploring the space. Not all 150 people are going to be in the rooms at the same time. So if half of them are in rooms, that means we've got 75 people sitting having tea at once. That's about 7 or 8 people in a call. That is a really good sized group for virtual tea. I mean, would you guys agree with that?
Right.
Is it possible for someone without going through you to open up a room? So for example, you say it's open 24/7, but how, like, say I wanted to just go open a Zoom portal and man a room whenever.
Since it's all built in Mythos, you would need to have a Mythos account, and I would need to show you how to do that. I have no problems doing that. What that getting into what I would love to, where I would love to see this go, is I would love to see everybody wanting to host rooms within this as a 24/7 thing. Doesn't have to be Thursdays at 2:00. The idea being that we can start marketing the virtual tea house as this umbrella for all of the tea community and tea servers everywhere to be able to be holding space.
Right.
And what that does is that we're unifying the tea community behind one thing, and it's much easier from an advertising standpoint to drive traffic to one thing.
Yeah.
So what I would love to do is, yes, I definitely want you guys to be able to hold space here. In at least the current iteration, it would probably take a little bit of work between us to be able to make that happen. Especially because we want to make sure to get on like the front page, this is where today's event is happening in the classroom. Here's how you get to the classroom, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that is 100% all work that I am here to do. I built this space so that others could come and play in it. So you asking me how to do that, Ashish, I want to help you do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you're modeling a virtual space, like there are people who have keys and there are visitors, right? So pretty much everybody who has a key should be able to open up a room whenever. And then what could happen over time is you just have this really organic thing where, oh my gosh, it's 4:00 on whatever day. I want to have some tea. We go check the virtual tea house and see if anybody's chilling. You know?
Exactly. So the general roadmap, I'll be putting together an Airtable form where you can submit an event that you want to host, and that Airtable form will populate a calendar with the room information and everything, and then that calendar will be posted at the entrance to the tea house. So in that sense, it'll become much more automated in that we don't have to go through and update tons of pages. And realistically, the way that it's built, if none of the rooms speak to what you want to do, speak to the kind of space that you want to hold, we'll just design a new room. When I was originally writing this, I originally had Cami and Sohan both in the classroom, and narrative-wise, I couldn't figure out how to make it work. So I'm like, well, screw it. I'm just going to put Cami in her own room, and we're going to call it the yoga studio. And within 15 minutes, new room existed, linked it in, no problem. It requires a little bit of know-how, a little bit of understanding on how to use the Mythos platform. The Mythos platform is a little clunky, but it's not difficult. I don't think. I mean, Elise, you've picked it up pretty amazingly. You might be able to speak a little more to...
It's difficult to feel included. But once you feel included, then it's extremely easy. So I think what Ashish is saying is actually a very good idea. Something that, I was kind of thinking about how we would scale this, all relying on everything being on your back, Sam, which is a big responsibility. And I think it's kind of cool to issue a set of keys to those folks that can navigate that. So, definitely since I've already learned, how to use the Mythos platform and how to create content there, I definitely would feel comfortable having a set of those keys. So in the case of, and this could even be done through Slack, if you want to make a room ideally you'd give days notice in that Airtable form, so there's time to set everything up and have the virtual space ready for it. But in some cases, we don't have time, and we just have an idea pop up and we want to go on, and if you don't have a set of keys, you can't create that. So maybe distributing that responsibility among people that have keys, as Ashish so well put it.
Yep.
Could help keep this like more fresh, and take a lot of the stress off of you, Sam, from every day having to update it.
Definitely. I am totally down for that. Giving you keys is as simple as, here, let me throw the screen share back up. Wrong one. This is the TED Talks memo. Oh, here. Just because this is perfectly practical. Down here now I've tagged Elise. Your username in Mythos has been tagged. You can now edit this memo.
Awesome.
So
basically, you're going to do an Airtable. Essentially, anybody who has keys through Zapier, I think you can connect it to Zapier, can get notifications when somebody requests a date. There could be a minimum. Anyway, sorry. This is I'm a software engineer, so we don't know.
Question.
Mafalda?
I know it's a struggle for me too.
I thought that you were actually already doing this, because when I went to the attic, I think it was after you move a couple of boxes, you get into a room and there was no one there. So I thought, if I linger here, then does that mean that I am the hostess? And I think that if we allow the rooms to kind of be open like that, because, of course, you can personalize it and make it whatever you want. But if it's like an improv thing, if it's like, I'm just going to check if someone is having tea right now at the tea house, does it really matter if it's in a room full of plants or if it's in a yoga studio or in the attic? It's just what you want is the people, is the ability to share the tea. So
right.
Even though the space itself might be really nice, if you can, interact with the description and provide a visual and a connection to the description, I don't think that it's extremely necessary, because what you're really providing is a platform for the community to engage. Down the road, that could be like something that is really well curated and it's really well connected. But I think for right now, for people to create the habit, the easier the better.
Yeah, and I definitely think that the space is a little overbuilt right now. That it has the capacity to be hosting far more than the traffic that we're driving is capable of filling. I think we could say for sure. And in the growth into that, we definitely need to be mindful of how we definitely need to be mindful of getting people into the conversations quickly and seamlessly.
So
yes,
a feedback about your specific thing, Mafalda. I think that's a great idea. I think that's really cool to have these kind of like standing spaces, but the logistical issue with it is that as of right now, with how we did it last week, all of those spaces are hosted by individual Zoom accounts of the people that were hosting those rooms. So there is a chance that their Zoom account would get held up. So Zoom only lets you have one meeting at a time going. So that would be the challenge. Now, if TED Talks was to acquire like an enterprise Zoom account where it could host multiple meetings at one time, but then you're starting to talk about a major expense.
We rented one for Virtual Tea House.
How much was it?
I got the homie discount of $6 a room.
Okay, so those are still the same links that.
All of those rooms are no longer accessible.
Okay.
It was just a day rental.
I see.
Oh.
But even that is an expense,
Yeah.
And if we were to run this 24 hours, but if there was like a membership fee, or, you know, like if we were to model something bringing value to people, that would be awesome. Mafalda, I think it's a great idea. If we could have like 1,000 members from around the world that are all super into this and paid a little bit each month, then yeah, we could definitely account for that. But we could also explore new technologies. So I've noticed today Facebook launched like their Zoom competitor.
Yeah.
That could potentially be a scalable, you know, room creation hub. I'll be researching that later today to see what capacities are there, because that could be really cool. That it just kind of leads you into like a Facebook message group where there's, you know, like a Zoom call going on.
Yep, we are the same group of people that I work with on the Mythos platform. We're exploring another platform called Topia, which allows you to control a little dude and wander around. And as your little dude gets closer to other little dudes, it automatically just pops you into a Zoom call. Or not, it doesn't even pop you into a Zoom call. It's just their video and their audio pops in.
Within that platform?
It's all within the platform. There's no download required. We can definitely go play in there later this afternoon if you would like, Elise.
Cool. Yeah, I would like that very much.
It's a little young, but I know the developers, and they are more than capable of doing what they have set out to do. They're only 2 weeks in. So, but seeing what they've done in 2 weeks, I'm stoked to see what they're going to do in another 2 weeks.
It's the future. Yeah, we're going to see lots more like that.
So, but definitely what you're talking about, Mafalda, is 100% what at least my intention for this is to create this like central space for you to go and have virtual tea with other people. And as we put together content, that allows us to open the doors wider and appeal to more people and grow the tea community, which I think everybody on this call is in support of. Anything we can do to grow the community.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So things coming up, I would like to do another party kind of at the scale that we did last time, and partner with some other people that I know that run a virtual nightclub. And they're bringing 300 to 500 people into a virtual nightclub. And if we attach 5 or 6 tea rooms to that, we can have a lot of fun. The space tea works so well interfacing with different environments and different vibes that we don't just have to sit here and talk about what color our leaves are.
Right. I think this is very important what you say, Sam, because I had so much fun in the art classes. It was a great idea. I started with Cami, so it was very relaxing because I was like kind of host after the virtual tea fest, and then calm down, slow down in the yoga class, and then to art classes. It was great. It was a great addition.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you, Cami, for bringing that.
She did it great.
Can I say something? It might be a little bit too out there, but yesterday yesterday for me, Sohan and Jeffrey from Lazy Literaris had a live stream, and they were talking about tea and sci-fi and how tea gets into like so many different pockets, and people have so many different hobbies, and getting that in with Australia specifically, people start to get really bored with isolation, so they dress up to take the bins out, and it's hilarious. So I thought it would be really cool to have like maybe a theme for one of the tea parties, even if, like the 90s or whatever, like something doesn't need to be like sci-fi or anything specific, but just to get people to break the ice, so it's not like you're formal and you don't know what you want and you're drinking tea. Is something a little bit more, oh, this could be an actual party. This could be like, at someone's
Yeah, we, especially the nightclub partner that I'm speaking of, I have set up this tea table essentially at one of their events. And for a little context, the way that their event works, they have a Twitch stream with a DJ that's playing music. And then they have a Zoom call that everybody is in and everybody's busy dancing. And then they have somebody in the Zoom call that will then go and spotlight whoever has the best dance moves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like getting on the Jumbotron when you're at a sporting event game.
It's a kiss cam.
Exactly, 100%. So it makes for this really fun experience.
So,
and then I had a side room where I was sitting and having tea. But the idea is that everybody that's coming into this, they're not showing up in their pajamas. They have taken time to decorate their space. They're wearing costumes. They've got funny hats. They've already made 3 costume changes throughout the evening.
Well, there could be a pajama party.
We could totally do a pajama party.
Don't ditch the pajamas.
So,
I would love to have a Alice in Wonderland tea party.
I'm down.
Just saying.
That idea.
It's the classic one.
So yeah, anything that we can be doing to make these feel more real and less like a bunch of people sitting and staring at a computer.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's also smart to keep it accessible as well for folks that maybe they heard about it last minute, but they still want to be involved and feel the energy and see what's going on. They don't have the time to get dressed up and to get in the spirit, or they're on the fence about doing that. So like making it accessible for them to experience to some degree without having to jump all the way in, and that could perhaps motivate them to jump all the way in the next time one of these events comes around. Because this is new. This is a whole new, thing. A whole bunch of my Burning Man group friends are doing these types of events. And, there's probably only a small handful of people that are really getting into it because they really know, oh, this actually works. This is a cool thing. But there's a whole bunch of other people that are just viewing. And, then the next event, you see a lot of those people that were viewing are now into it. Because they got the gist of it. So, I think that's kind of the importance of like having the interactivity. So like I have a friend in San Francisco, they're doing really cool multi-dimensional virtual events that involve like VR. So like you could have different levels of interactivity with these events. Like you can have the full on VR experience and they have it all built that way. Or you can just engage in the 2 dimensions. Or you can just watch it as the broadcast that's going out on Twitch. And you can choose on what level you want to participate in with the event. So,
Definitely.
VRT. I think that's the answer.
Great.
I remember we were talking a little bit about trying to get trying to have everybody drink the same tea. In a way, so we're trying to figure out some sort of package that a person can receive, so that every time someone logs in, you're all drinking the same tea. So it feels more involved that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've spent a little bit of time sketching that out, Jeremy. I think by next week I'll probably have a model for what I think that would look like. and how to execute it in a way that is financially sustainable, and kind of what that would require. I mean, I think we definitely have all of the pieces that we need here in the call. Even just in the call right now, we have everything that we would need to do that. So it's just kind of a matter of putting it together and such. And I've just about finished putting it together on a spreadsheet, so that all we have to do is like figure out what are the numbers that make this functional.
Well, I think that this could be a function of like whoever's hosting that class would be responsible for that. You know, if Jeremy, if you wanted to have one of these like co-drinking sessions where you're all drinking the same tea, then you would be the one responsible for shipping out everybody's tea, but then would also, you know, assign a fee. And this virtual tea house could be like a marketing platform for any of us to do those types of events. And, you know, you could even develop like Brian, are you excited about that?
Excessively. The Reddit ads that we did for the last one didn't get approved in time for some Reddit drama, but running Reddit ads persistently, collecting and curating comment threads that speak to the content and basically saying this is awesome, like essentially curating a conversation that is championing whatever's being sold or promoted. Once that happens, once you get that kind of portrait of a thread, you can run the ads for months, and the cost to do so is so low. So just basically having a persistently open space that anyone can wander into and just get sucked into that hole and delight and surprise with different things is, yeah. I mean, seeing Sam's tea house and wandering through it. I mean, I was live streaming as I went through it, and I was just giddy because it's simple, but at the same time, it's not something you find anywhere else. And I think that that's something that stands on its own, even if no one's in it. You know, like if someone's sitting at a tea table and I can wander in, that's great. But I did a speed run of the tea house before anyone was there, and it was supposed to be a speed run. It took me an hour because I was largely unaware of what Sam had been doing. And then when I found it for the first time, I'm like, this is amazing. I like went through every single thing, and then when people were actually in it, I found new things, and it's pretty magical. It's also not too technologically or like creatively difficult to just keep adding rooms. Like we don't have to deal with neighbors and buying new property. Like we have no physical restrictions.
Overhead.
Hey, Brian, speaking on the Reddit marketing that was done, we did have close to 200 people from Reddit visit that Twitch stream throughout the stream. So people did come, they found it. I thought that it might have been through the ads or whatever, but I did a live stream on Wednesday night, like the 45-minute time I got. I had a little over 1,000 viewers throughout that time. And I was able, and it got like 55 upvotes. And so I was able to cross-post that live stream to the tea subreddit, and I invited people to the tea festival and the tea house there. So I think that's where the people did end up coming in. So I think there are like different.
I would say there's a lot of hidden features that Reddit just kind of built ad lib and then didn't tell anyone about because they're not sure if they work or not. One of which is the ability to create a post on your user profile instead of a subreddit and then link that to a live event. And so you can do that and then promote it. And it's like a weird, super technical Reddit thing. But that was another thing I wanted to test when we had more time.
Cool.
And this time you're not going to get your account suspended by doxing yourself a couple days before.
Yeah.
Every time that I hear you guys speak about Reddit, it sounds so convoluted and that you have to jump through so many hoops. Is it worth it? Like, I know that it's a big community, but is it worth it? Like, I'm asking generally. I am not Reddit?
My best way, my two best ways of conveying its worth, right? Because it's a soulful process. You have to contribute a part of yourself to get something back. So it's not a matter of like blogging where you do it consistently and you use all the keywords. And so you're really exposing a piece of yourself, and that in itself takes a lot. I did that for the first time in 2014. It was 12 hours of writing my first blog post specifically for Reddit, 30 days of spending about 30 minutes to an hour per day, like learning what the fuck Reddit was, and then writing that article for them. And then I posted it. It immediately, within 72 hours, it was 450,000 people to my blog. Within the month, it was 38,000 backlinks, give or take 5 to 7 million earned media impressions. And to this day, 5 years later, I still get emails of, I just found your article and I'd like to talk to you about. To measure the return on investment.
So you're the guy to go to.
There's a lot of people to go to. I'm the only one dumb enough to say it publicly, because as soon as I did, I got featured a little while later in an article titled the magic formula for going viral on Reddit. It was on Forbes, which I didn't choose the title. It was actually something different. They changed it to be more clickable. As soon as I saw it, I was like, canceling everything. I'm waiting. Gets picked up by the conspiracy subreddit of like, fuck this guy, he's ruining our platform. Spent 6 hours practicing nonviolent communication and holding space for people. And at the end of the conversation, it was like, fuck everyone who's not this guy. And so, you know, it has its intricacies, but if you are willing to if you're willing to show up, it's worth it. If you're not willing to show up, it's not worth it. And it's very binary in that way. So, I've spent the last year building up a persona as the least hated advertiser on Reddit. And that's kind of what I'm newly and freshly excited to use to promote people like everyone here in the Tea House, because that platform really only works if I'm talking about other people. That's the nature of Reddit. Actually, the first ad that I ran was promoting my dating profile with Reddit ads, and now you're no longer allowed to do that. But it was really fun. I got like 18 offers for dates, way out of what would be desired from an age and all other aspects. But it was really fun.
It's worth it, Mafalda. It's worth it. If anything, just to learn how to find your authentic voice, it's worth it. Better than Instagram or Facebook. But it's gonna feel like it's not worth it at first. But it takes some time. And yeah, definitely don't promote yourself. Don't try to call yourself great, or don't try to call yourself an expert, because yeah, you will be shamed and you'll be belittled and thinking, you know, that everybody hates you, when they actually don't. Because there's trolls, you know, that just spend a lot of time in trying to bring people down. But if you talk with an authentic voice, you'll be fine. So I did Reddit when I first launched TLET, like, you know, I was in a tech incubator, and it was all about like SEO and marketing and get everywhere. And I did Reddit just because the numbers, right? And I did it a lot. Like, that was the main platform I invested my time into writing and to answering people's questions and, you know, just trying to engage with everybody. And it was working. But then like the second that like my name, people started talking about TLET, or that name started spreading around, there was like haters, and you know, I just like felt so like useless. And then anytime I'd post, those haters would immediately downvote everything and make sure that I couldn't, you know, break through the film. And so I kind of quit it. But since I've gone back now because of the Virtual Tea Festival, I kind of went back on and re-engaged with the community, and come to find out that like the name is still very well known there, and it's actually highly regarded. So, you know, kind of backing away from it and, you know, not trying to feed so much into it has helped. But it wouldn't be there if I hadn't put that initial time into it. So yeah, it's worth it. Yeah, find your authentic voice.
It's basically a community that does not respond well to people's egos.
But they then themselves have the biggest egos, because they're the keyboard warriors that want to bring everyone down. It's just that the hypocrisy for me is one of the things that really gets me. I can't deal with bullies. I can't deal with trolls because my first instinct is to break them down and to reduce them to the piece of shit I think that they are.
So I have a lot of experience in a practice of trolling trolls through nonviolent communication and ego death. I mean, there's a reason I wear shirts like fictional character, and I have skin encapsulated ego in the shape of an eye. Mythos, which Sam and Elise used, like I put a lot of my stories there so that when someone's like, oh yeah, well, what about? I'm like, here's my answer, and they're like, oh, you already had an answer for that. And just like being like basically no matter what people say, you say, I agree with you. And then you find that one tiny little piece of something that you can agree with and you build on it. And they want to fight. And so if you show up and refuse to give them one, it's hilariously disarming. When I did get called out on Conspiracy Thread, I think like my favorite nerd cred to date is the moderator of the conspiracy community thanked me for my time and sharing my perspectives. And then the community like responded to that being like, did that just happen? And I'm like, did that just happen? Like the moderator of the conspiracy community is thanking the person who the post is about for showing up. So, love eats fear. And we happen to have metrics on that.
I just don't know if I have the patience.
It gives you patience. It is certainly a practice for that.
There's already so many things out there that makes me so disappointed with humanity that, I think that would just push me to the edge. Not that I would even engage and add, gasoline to the fire sort of thing. Because I know that's exactly what they want. They want the reaction. They want the engagement. They want to, push your buttons. So eventually you'll make a fool of yourself or, act out of anger. It's not like I'm not in control of my feelings. It's just that the whole construction of it, the whole situation makes me really sad for the human spirit and the human condition right now. It's like, what got you to become this?
I'll respond to that and transition us to a lighter frame because I spent this morning dealing with some mental health issues or making space for mental health issues and conversing with people at a very high level at Reddit, both influencers and admins, to resolve something that happened at 3 o'clock in the morning last night that I happened to catch. Yeah, that's very much the case. And it's not just Reddit, it's social media. For the last decade, society has been programmed to speak from ego and to push people into seeing things that put them in their egos through comparison and judgment. And COVID has, in our frame, has been a catalyst for prompting this and showing us that like our social, economic, ego, all of these systems are very much teetering. That's why I resonated so deeply with Sam and Elise when they communicated tea as a practice of making space. And I think that there are many other people like you that feel that, and they're all looking for the feeling, the thing that is real, the thing that's not that, the thing that, after 10 years of Facebook, we know isn't that. And so just knowing that people also feel that, they also feel disheartened, they also are looking for that space and making it as you all are doing right now.
Yeah.
I can understand a little bit what you said, Mafalda, because I know I probably said many times before, but I'm a mental health doctor. So I've been dealing with this kind of patients, and especially during this time of quarantine when everything is written, I hear the other side. And what can I say to you is probably sounds very simple, but it's not an easy thing to do. Don't take it personal, because people in that mental state are going to do it with anybody in front of them. Because
True.
I have heard, for example, this patient, she works in a bank, and she's stressed enough that she's going to catch COVID. She's around people and the stuff, but somebody came and throw stones to her, bad words, because they are doing it at the supermarket, at the gas station, at the bank, at the hospital, to everywhere. And that's what I hear every week in my therapy sessions with my patient. Today, I've been very sad, and I mistreat my children. I mistreat my partner. It's not personal. So don't take it for you. Once I heard a very nice story from, it involves an old samurai, and he was with his student, and he was teaching them how to fight. And this young, egotistic samurai came and started to insult the old samurai, telling him he is old and he is not in fashion, he's not strong anymore. And he kept insulting this old wise man in front of his students. And his students were ready to cut his head off. And the old samurai, he kept quiet until this guy got tired and left them alone. And the students asked the professor, the master, why didn't you cut his head off? And he said, words are like a gift. You can take them or you can not. It's your choice. This man came to me with this gift, and this gift was horrible. So I didn't take it. And this guy left with his horrible gift that was a bunch of, insults and offenses. So let's try to keep in mind that people, it's not doing personal. It's something that they have to deal with it every day with every person they face. So it can be you, it can be me, it can be all of us, but it's not personal. Just don't take it. It's not a gift for you. You can say no, thank you.
Fair enough. That's a good metaphor.
And it's something that can help us
a little.
in all of our life too, and how to deal with conflict and how to deal with not taking things personally, and also how to inspire people. And I think that's something that Brian was touching on in his interactions with these types of conflicts on Reddit, is that you're actually able to change their perspective. You're actually able to change their mind and make them become more mindful and better people in their interactions. So there's a lot of power in that. And then if you experience that, it's like, whoa, I want to, Brian wants to make a career out of doing it, So it's pretty incredible. And I think as T people, as space holders, it's something that we have a lot of power in doing. So yeah, I'd encourage you to challenge yourself to have patience and to do that, since you've already identified it as a pet peeve or whatever you want to call it for yourself. Maybe you could become.
It's not a pet peeve. I just think I know that the virus has created a mental crisis that has never really been experienced anywhere in our history. I think that a lot of people are guiding their lives right now through the amygdala, through the fight or flight and fear, not knowing, they're not leading through the frontal cortex. So I understand that, the decisions and the fears and the attitudes might not be a reflection of the people that they are. The Reddit community, though, since the beginning, even before coronavirus or COVID, was already known for having that, was already known for being a breeding ground for this type of behavior. And it was one of the reasons why I didn't want to go there, because I just found that to be like a really sad part of humanity, and a lot of it based on whatever issues they were going through, the mirroring, the reflection, the trying to, bring people down because they're down. I just find it really sad, to be honest. And it's not like
just a reflection is that a lot of the collective perspective that Reddit is like that is media bias. I can't tell you how often people reach out to interview me, and it's more clickable if you use Reddit and troll or something happened in an article. I saw one recently where it was Reddit, something quotes idiots. Reddit says thank you for the idiots. And if you read the article and you watch the video, it was like very much in jest, and they even said it in the article, but they created that cognitive bias because it's clickable. And there's been science that if you create bias with your own headline and then you change the bias in the article, you actually can't undo the bias that you, the author, create with the title. It's more clickable. Some of it is true. It has its merits. It certainly had more merit in the past than it does now. There's a lot that's different, but if it makes you feel any better, there's that. And then I'll send you, I'm posting in the chat. This is one of the ads that I've been running for several months now, and it's 129 very polite comments. So if you want a different perspective,
I have found some funny sub threads, like snapshots that you find in the internet, and I always thought, wouldn't it be awesome if they were all like that? Because I've never been in Reddit, so I did have that stereotype that Reddit was full of trolls, and then those situations were just the sporadic ones. So it's nice to know it's not like that.
Most of the situations are supportive and collaborative. The majority is supportive and collaborative. Just to reference that live video I did, it was like a really shitty live video, but I researched online and found out the more authentic and shittier video is the better it does. So I didn't make a set. I just kind of made the video quickly from my phone. I had 1,000 viewers and I only had 2 people that tried to make a joke to belittle me. But then I had 150 others that were really interested in what I was doing and asking really nice questions and thanking me for the information that I was sharing. So yeah, the trolls are there, especially if you come out trying to show off your ego. Yeah, they're gonna immediately get you. But if you're going in there humble and just saying, I more so want to ask you guys for information. What do you think about this? You're gonna find so much support and collaboration from that type of interaction.
Especially in the smaller and more, I don't know if niche is the right word, but the smaller communities. So the tea community, or if you're looking at at communities around very specific things, you're going to find a very different tone than if you go into the political conversations, for example.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I wouldn't even dare to go to the political.
That will be crushing your mind.
Oh, no. I already have that too much on Facebook as it is.
Right.
So I think we've kind of gone off topic, but at the same time, I think this is very on topic that we've addressed this, these types of personalities, because as we build out this virtual tea house and create it as this platform space that people can come and go, there's going to be potential for these types of interactions to happen as well. So how do we set the culture of that space, and educate people as they come into that space, how to be better there and how to receive more kindness there. What are your actions? Don't come here just marketing yourself. That's a major, if you go on any subreddit, they usually have it as one of the first rules, no self-promotion. Because that's, you got to know that.
If you look in the advertiser policies, they now have it there, thanks to me.
I was speaking to Marco from Steep Tea about when I finally actually open a tea house, the dream, and that I would like to incorporate different traditions from different cultures, not appropriating, but kind of making a reflection of modern times and global community. And one of the things that I would like to incorporate was the bowing to get into a place, like the Noan, I think it's Noan, is it? I can't remember. It's like the little Japanese little curtains that you kind of have to go under
into the tea house, into the
Yes.
sequoia.
And even into the virtual tea house, we could have something like that, like a little note saying, "Leave your ego outside. We're all equal." Like if you're coming into this tea house, you need to leave the ego outside,
Yeah.
and there's no status here, kind of thing. And
It's a great
I
idea.
think that because that's one of the things that I love about tea houses historically and nowadays is that everyone's at the same level. It doesn't really matter what your position is or your how much money you make or where you're coming from or who your parents are, but you would be like an equalizer.
I think
I love that so much, and I kind of am thinking of a nerdy way that we can get people to submit a photo of them crawling to show a board of in the space to like show a board of people who have crawled through.
Hashtag crawl for tea.
A
Yeah,
picture
it's
under your table at least.
I think
No,
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sohan. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think that having it be a Zoom-based medium, I mean, you navigate it with Mythos and then you interact with Zoom. I think people are a lot less likely to be trolls when they have to be seen and heard. I think people are more likely to be.
Sohan wants to troll us.
Yeah, I mean, turn your camera back on.
No,
That-
he's right. He's right. I mean, that was the whole reason
Definitely.
why when we first started doing these like multi-dimensional, breakout rooms with the tea room, Sam, I was like, the first rule, like your camera has to be on.
Right, and that was the whole point of me kind of sitting at the front gate of the virtual tea house, that the first room everybody visited was mine.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And
Yeah, it was a great idea. And when you put the polite rules, the etiquette of tea room, it was a great idea.
I read that. Yeah, that was good.
thank you for reading it. I appreciate when people read my writing.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. You were just trolling for a minute.
I was just jumping in to troll there. So now you guys got really quiet, which I don't know why.
We're afraid you're trolling us.
There we go. So I think one thing is that people are going to be a lot less likely to be trolls verbally or visually, and I think that I think when you say leave your ego at the door, that's great for people who are already inclined to do that. For the type of people who want to come and be a troll, that is like, come be a troll here. It's kind of an invitation. I think what would be helpful would be to have a general policy: don't engage with trolls. If somebody starts trolling, everybody just ignore that person, because what trolls want is attention. And if you ignore them, they rely on there being enough of them and on the person that they're trolling reacting emotionally to get their fix, and on being able to get the support of other trolls to come to their aid and be like, yeah, fuck you. But if the general policy is trolls get ignored, and we don't engage with trollish behavior, abusive behavior gets ignored, and if you keep doing it, you'll be removed from the room. I think that should, it's a critical mass thing. One troll in a room full of people who are not engaging with him is going to just go somewhere else because they'll get bored. They rely on either people reacting badly or other people coming and being trolls too. So I think that both of those things would go a long way towards keeping us troll free.
Yeah, and I think that comes to us as the space holders and kind of leaders in the space, I suppose, to set that example.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Mafelda's idea though. Like that's and maybe it doesn't need to be as explicit as like leave your ego at the door. Maybe it could just be like a fun game that you interact with that subliminally gives you that message and gives you that feeling of like, yeah, this is a no ego space. Yeah, we don't have to explicitly tell them that. But yeah, Brian's idea of like having them somehow submit a picture of them kneeling or like going underneath something could be fun, or maybe it doesn't have to be as personal as that. Yeah.
There are many paintings of how samurais used to put themselves down before going into the tea houses. There are paintings, and probably it can be useful.
Maybe that could be it. Maybe it could be like, because that's like a meme going around right now of people like recreating famous paintings. That could be it. And that could be a contest too, where, like once a week we pick a winner and they win something. I don't know. Or they get some kind of recognition or credit.
Fictional character t-shirt.
Don't forget you have members outside United States, and
it's expensive.
Borders are closed, and sometimes we are frustrated because you say there's a discount with this and we can ship these things, and we are like, oh, I'm not available.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't need to be a physical thing. But it could be some recognition, it could be like the framed picture on the wall or something, for that week. But some kind of engaging activity to
The tea head for the week. You hear me? Hello?
Yep. But that's fun. I like that idea. Kneeling. That might be too much for when people first go in. Maybe it doesn't have to be so personal as like taking a selfie of yourself, but I'll think on it. But I think that'll be a necessary thing, Sam. It'll be
we could definitely put it into that like entry experience. Mm-hmm. That essentially they watch a video that takes you down through something.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be long. But some sort of like, ducking underneath. I mean, I just added at least like a little bit of text, and I don't know if this is the right spot for it or not, but like when this is part of the entrance process now that you duck underneath the threshold.
Well, maybe there can be a memo on that. So, if someone wants to understand context of what that means, we can talk about the tradition of Japanese tea ceremony. And why?
Is there a specific name or anything for that?
I don't know the specific name, but I can find it. I can ask Mike Sensei.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I have a picture doing it. Fortunately, it's of my back, so nobody's going to see my face, but I'm going into the tea house and on my knees and watching a piece of art. So if it works, I can send to you guys, Elise, Sam, Sohan, if you guys want to check it, if it works. And I will ask my sensei what's the name, the correct name for this position of your body and of your soul, of course.
That would be amazing. I will get that all documented and into here. Like, it doesn't...
Okay,
super
check.
Damn, I just linked my memo for what I cheekily called Humboldt Tunnel. Will and I were actually talking about the bowing door. So there's an article that's in the bottom of it for tea ceremony etiquette, and I'm looking for a name, but I'm not finding one.
There certainly is a name for it. Knowing tea ceremony, there's got to be a name for it.
Right.
Yeah, I forget.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that. That's really neat. I think taking people virtually through it is a great idea. I think I like the idea of taking a picture of yourself. Maybe even just taking a picture of yourself drinking tea would be cool. And again, optional. You don't have to. But I think that people lash out in these really trollish ways because they feel excluded elsewhere, and so they want to be the one on the excluding side. And so I think a lot of the time when people are made to feel safe and included, then they identify with the group rather than being a troll. And I think that doing something like it's a very vulnerable thing to send a picture of yourself. But it's like, okay, well, you really do like tea. You're drinking tea with us. We drink tea. We're all on the same team here. We're all drinking tea.
Like a screenshot. If Sam is going to be the gatekeeper, you could be like, you have to have your camera on and you have to take a screenshot. So kind of keeps everyone in check.
Yeah, I didn't let you in until you.
I know.
You showed up and you're like, wait, what is this at 7 a.m. and I'm just getting out of bed?
I was just like, oh yeah, the virtual tea house, thinking it will take me to a website, and all of a sudden I'm in a Zoom, and she's like, you need to turn on your camera, and I was like, let me just get my hair in a ponytail and put the shirt on. It's like, just give me a second. I need to go to the tea room. I was like getting dressed. It was an exciting morning.
And then you turned your camera on and went and had a great time.
I know, I did. Even today, although I haven't slept, I don't feel, I feel awake. I feel like it's okay. I can go to bed at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. It's fine.
Bye, Sohan. You know what? A tidbit of information about the kneeling in the door to get into the tea house. The first time that I was exposed to that, when I was where was I? I forget where I was, but we were at a legitimate tea house, at like a tea museum. And I was told, in addition to the whole ego thing, what was most importantly and relevant at that time of these tea houses that were usually hosted in the shogun's property, was that it was a meeting place for the samurai to have like peace negotiations or whatever kind of negotiations they're having. That their swords couldn't fit through the doors. If they kept them on, they couldn't fit, so they'd have to leave the swords out. I think that's a cool little tidbit of history that would be engaging for this audience coming in. That it's not just about the ego; it's also about putting your guard down and just being comfortable and being ready to connect and talk.
That's great.
That's why I changed to a kukri, because it's much smaller and I don't have to take it off to fit through the door. So.
Elise, I'll shoot you a link to this memo. You're a collaborator on it.
Okay, cool.
Sam, I just sent you a couple pictures to your messenger because I cannot share the pictures, so you can check them or you can share them. But there are about the example or kneeling, going on your knees before going into the tea house.
Okay, they have not come through yet. Do you want to share that? I don't know if you can. Oh, there they are.
I cannot. It says only the host can share the screen.
Well, then why don't I make you a co-host and let you do that?
I don't know how to share either.
And plus, I think you're on a phone, right? Are you on a phone?
Can you see it? Can you see it?
No.
Not yet.
Let me see.
There we go. We can see.
Okay.
We see you now.
This is one of them. Let me see if I
see
can share.
Anymore.
Okay, I think I need to mark all of them.
There it is.
Okay. I'm showing 3 photos. Can you see them?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the door, and that's the way you have to get into. Like you can see no shoes, but here I'm wearing a kimono. But in this other picture, I'm on my knees and I'm not wearing a kimono, but I don't have no jewelry either, because there's no jewelry, no katanas, nor nothing inside the tea house, because we are all the same. And this is in a tea house in Japan, so it's always on your knees. If this is useful for you guys, I'm happy to share with you, and I will find the name with the correct name with my sensei.
Let's see. Kuni-san from Japan commented that he's.
Oh.
Kuni, do you know the name of it? If you're still here, let us know.
Sure.
Comment. He said hello. He says hello to everybody.
He is great.
Yeah, he's a good guy. You know, Priscilla, you would love this about him. This past October, he started a tradition, and hopefully we can continue to do it every year. You know the Kuchikiri? You've heard of Kuchikiri?
Right.
He's doing Kuchikiri tour throughout the U.S. every year in October, where he brings the new year's matcha that's been stored. He left a stone grinder here. I take it and we meet and we set up meetings at all of our clients' tea shops, and we do like a Kuchikiri celebration at each tea shop.
That is great.
And he'll bring single cultivars of the different tenchas. And throughout the period of time, we'll freshly grind every single new cultivar. It's like extremely educated. It's incredible. But it was a funny misunderstanding, because when he told me about this idea he had, I thought that Kuchikiri, I've heard of it before, and I thought it was like a highly celebrated thing across the Chado communities, but it's kind of not. It's like a very niche thing, and very few people, even the Chado schools, actually practice it. They know of it, they talk about it, but it's not like a big festival celebration thing. I thought that like popular tea communities would put a festival together or something.
Right, because sometimes Chado people they have not even seen a tea plant. It happened to me. It happened to me with one Chado community in Mexico. They don't even know that matcha comes from Camellia sinensis.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What? Are you serious?" And they just serve matcha and they start to learn how to serve. But sometimes these celebrations are particularly practiced by growers.
Yeah.
So they are very, very special. And in another way, exclusive, if you want.
Yeah.
Because
So
Chado
we
people
didn't-
sometimes don't enjoy them.
We didn't make it exclusive. We invited everybody. So throughout the few weeks that he was here, we went to Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, LA, and then he actually ended up going to Miami and then to New York City doing this event. And I had connected him with all of his clients everywhere, and had hundreds of people come. And so I was making it into this big celebration thing, and he had to keep correcting me. He was like, "No, Elise, in Japan, we don't really celebrate this." And I'm like, "You should. Like, this is a great way to educate people about tea quality." Because you're right. Like, a lot of Chado people are so honed in just on the ceremony itself. A lot of times they're like doing the ceremony with like not real matcha. Like, they're not even using a good quality product in their practice.
I had a lot of fun drinking matcha at the farm in Malibu.
So yeah, that was it, Sam. You went. That was the Kuchikiri celebration.
Yeah, I got to grind the matcha, and then we had that amazing tomato soup.
Oh yeah, that was good.
It's a perfect pairing. It's an exercise of pairing to flavor of matcha with tomato soup. Great.
All organic, locally grown.
Well, I hope borders get open, and I hope I can go. Will be great.
Yeah. Hopefully by October, but who knows? I'm not getting my hopes too high up. But I mean, it doesn't mean that we have to break a newly found tradition that we've started. We'll continue it when the opportunity's there. And yeah, we'll bring the event virtual too. Like now that we're doing all of this, it's going to be just like second nature to make everything virtual that we do.
Right. Will be great.
Mm-hmm.
So even virtually, I would love to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
What are all of you drinking, by the way?
$10 says Ashish is drinking Lubao or Shupue.
Yeah, well, I don't know who's going to give you that $10. Yeah, so I'm drinking rain butter from Sohan's situation.
That's
Rain butter.
I like that tea. That's like one of my favorites.
The show for.
Wow, what a name. Rain butter.
Yeah, it's really good.
Love that.
I'm drinking a South Korean tea.
Nice. What is it? Is it a Wujeon or a T-Jack or?
It's Seo Wang. I got it in Germany. So they are explaining, but I cannot get it very much.
Where did you find it?
I was crazy to get South Korean teas, and well, after Sochung class, I understand them way more. He's great.
Yeah.
The Korean tea I had when I visited Pedro's shop up in Vancouver, the green tea, green tea I had there was just like out of this world, unique and tasty good.
Are you talking about 05?
Yeah.
Pedro has amazing teas.
Yeah. No, so like this tea, it tasted, it was like a blend between sencha and like Chinese green tea. That is like, you know how drastically different Japanese and Chinese green teas are. And the Korean tea, which I had never had before, it fell right in the middle.
Wow.
And
So there's one particular tea. There's one particular tea that I'm going to get in that I was shown by a friend. I think it's Docha. It's like, imagine little nests of pu'er, but it's Korea, and you have to put them on fire, like directly into the flames, and kind of make sure that it's evenly singed, and then you boil it, and it tastes like cotton candy. And it's just, I absolutely fell in love with it. So I'm definitely getting some.
That's Korean?
Yeah.
Cool.
Pedro has the craziest ideas for making tea, and he learned, in the jungle of those places in those countries. When I had a class with him, when I met him, he told me about bata bata cha, dark tea, Japanese dark tea. And I was like, what? And you have to boil it for 20 minutes before you can use the shaker, the chasen. And I love it.
Yeah, I like all the weird things. I find that the more people get into tea, the more they experiment, the more countries start producing it. It's just more new things, more terroirs to explore, more processes to be invented and mashed together. Like in Australia, there's one plantation, only one of the plantations that we have here, that is doing their own thing. So they're using Japanese cultivars and they're using Taiwanese methods, being really, ingenious with what they have. And it's created something completely new, something that is not either Taiwanese or Japanese. It's something that is very particular to that plantation. And I think that that's really exciting. I was like, yeah, bring on the new things. I can't wait to see what the colonized tea trade is going to be doing. Like India, for example, they're starting to diversify and do more Chinese style teas, and that excites me because I always, not that I'm being biased, but I always thought that they sold themselves short by only focusing or mainly focusing on black teas. So I find that can be such a mirage and plethora of like amazing things can happen there. So yeah, more power to them. More tea for us.
What are you drinking, Mafalda?
I'm drinking Moonlight White. So I'm
Sounds nice.
definitely keeping myself awake right now. I've been drinking tea. What time is it now?
8:30.
It's 8:30. I've been drinking tea since 1 a.m. So for 7.5 hours, and it's just started like 10 minutes ago. You know, when you're in the plane or when you're underwater and your ears just block, my ears just started to like do that. I'm like, all right, I might need some nuts.
Fun.
If I get too tea drunk, let me know.
No such thing.
Yum.
Jeremy, what about you? What are you drinking today?
I think sort of a little bit of everything. When you pack tea, no matter how careful you are, leaves always hit the table. So usually I just gather them up, throw them in a cup, and when it's enough, I'll just brew it.
Table tea.
So,
Table tea, that's what we call it.
The table blend.
Yeah. So I think it's 18 Ruby, White Forest, White, I think 4 Seasons, and Thiola Roasted.
That's a good mix.
It's very busy in flavor-wise. Kind of hard to identify, but still good.
That hits me right in the childhood with going to the soda fountains and just like going down the entire getting a little bit of everything, and it's just like this gross thing of sugar.
I'm also drinking a blend, an intentional blend that our friend in South Dakota. I don't think he's been on a Tea Talks, has he?
Joe's been. They came into the virtual tea house the first time, but I think they've come to Tea Talks once or so.
Yeah.
But I think schedule-wise, it's pretty tough for them.
Yeah, he just started working again, so good for him.
Oh.
You know, South Dakota has opened back up. They never really officially closed, but you know, the communities I think did kind of hold back for a bit. You know, just out of necessity, less people were traveling through and needing the, you know, support or whatnot. But this is his blend. It's called Love and Respect. It's a green tea base, pretty full leaf green tea base with hibiscus flowers, rose flowers, chamomile. Yeah, so it's just like a really flowery green tea.
Yummy.
It was brewing out like
Sounds
pretty
great.
pink from the hibiscus. Yeah, I wish the tea had a bit more punch to it, like it carried through. Like the tea doesn't really carry through in this, but it is pretty beautiful looking. He's using a pretty full leaf, you know, tea.
I had that happen from my friends. Like, he made me a blend from the tea he was drinking in Africa, and it was like a green tea blend with hibiscus. And the hibiscus was just too much for me, so I took it out. But then the green tea had like nothing to it. And I was like, now I understand why he mixed hibiscus.
Yeah, make it taste like something. You know, an interesting thing about hibiscus, if it's really good quality, you can actually eat the finished thing, and it actually has like an interesting texture to it. Like one of my clients, she gets hibiscus from us, and she brews it to make aguas frescas as, you know, a drink, as like a sugary, you know, drink. But then the the finished flowers, her husband will use as a meat replacement. He has like Taiwanese comfort food on their menu, and it's like a pork and rice dish. So instead of throwing the pork meat into the stir fry for the dish, they'll use the hibiscus flowers, and it has like a really interesting meat replacement texture to it. Like you wouldn't even know. Like if you were served it, you would think that it was just meat, but it's actually hibiscus flowers. I'm eating it now.
Well, that's the way I used to eat vegetarian tacos when I lived in Mexico, with hibiscus flowers.
See, it's a
that
thing.
is called Jamaica flower. It is delicious, but it has a very strong taste. So for blending, I think it's not very balanced to use it very much, because it can totally cover the flavor of tea. It's very strong.
Hey, at least comfortpork.com is available.
Oh my god.
Sam, I think I'm rubbing off on you.
A little bit. What are you drinking today, Brian?
Longevity's green tea, based on the combination of all the teas that are predominantly had around in the blue zones around the world, where people live longer than anywhere else. Sciencey tea.
Yeah, we got to get Dr. Kale in here.
Yeah, actually. Fantastic prompt. I'm sending her an email now.
Thank you.
Who's that?
Dr. Kale is a citizen of one and the proprietor of Longevities, and he spent a bunch of time researching the areas of the world that people live the longest and the ingredients in the beverages that they drink, and then putting together tisanes, well, teas and tisanes.
Is Dr. Kale his name, or is it a nickname?
She's a research pharmacologist that teaches at Pepperdine. Her name is Dr. Jessica Kale.
All right, good to know.
She's also like a burner who started I don't know if you're familiar with Original Muscle Beach, the like aerial gymnastics stuff in Santa Monica. The Burning Man camp called Swing City, that's like all of that stuff at Burning Man. She and her husband founded it like a decade ago.
Nice.
And posting a link to her story and the article that her tea company was based on. I have a shout out on the about page for she used to make this as a holiday gift for friends. She would just make it and then plastic like Ziploc baggie it and hand it to her friends. And she made the mistake of giving it to me one year. And I'm cited on her about page as the person who followed her around with money every time I would see her. And until she consented to starting a tea company so that I could buy it.
You were the catalyst.
I have a gift for being persistent, and it was quietly nudged by her husband that my persistence was helping him to convey something that he did not have the ability to convey in his marriage, which was to encourage her creativity. And I was like, I will gladly stand outside of your marriage and harass her into embracing this. And she did, and it's delicious, so we're grateful.
That's right. Whatever gets you there,
Their chai is delicious as well. I always kind of feel at a loss when hanging out with y'all because I very little tea knowledge, and the tea knowledge that I have is super duper nerdy. But they're delicious teas.
That's one of the most important things, that they taste good and make you feel good. I mean, technically, they don't even have to taste good. They should just make you feel good.
It helps that they taste good.
It definitely does.
Of course. Of course. I grew up with a father, with a doctor as a father, and sometimes it needs to taste good. I remember his medicines, and he was saying, "You are going to feel good. You are going to feel better," but it tastes like hell. So for me, it needs to taste good.
Well, what did Mary Poppins say?
Castor oil and codfish oil and things like that. Yeah, yes.
We remember what Mary
Oh,
Poppins
growing-
says, right? A spoonful of sugar,
Oh,
some
man.
medicine, go down. Medicine, go down.
Well, we have another version of these songs in Spanish. It was like pasito a pasito como un enanito. Little step, like a little elf.
Oh,
But still tastes like hell anyways.
In Portugal,
Well,
we say,
growing with a doctor. Growing with a doctor.
in Portugal, we normally say whatever burns heals. So when you're like disinfecting a wound or something like that, it's so you get that sense that if it tastes good, it's probably not good for you. only things that taste good are bad for you. The healthy things normally taste like crap.
Yeah.
Well, agree.
Not necessarily always, but that's the perception that you create when you're a child.
There are adults with that perception as well. So
is that a metaphysical prompt, though, that anything that burns heals?
Well, normally, even emotional growth is never easy. Like growing pains,
Right.
Though sometimes if it burns, you should probably just see a doctor.
Well, yes. Well, it really does depend on the case. If it's bleeding, if there's bone showing, maybe you should. Or if you don't remember the last 10 minutes, you should definitely go see a doctor.
Hey, how do you guys get scaling off of the inside of a tea kettle or a water kettle?
Yeah, that's the calcium of the water.
you can put bamboo charcoal, but that's a proactive thing.
Right. So how do I get it off of the inside of the kettle now?
Use vinegar.
Okay. Oh, it looks like it kind of just wipes off.
It should wipe off, but if it's really caked on, you can use vinegar to help lift it. But try to find some charcoal online. Just have it'll absorb all that calcium.
A different charcoal than I would use for my hookah?
Yeah, I think so. Or you could try. I don't know. I didn't know you used hookah.
I haven't in a while, but I still have charcoal. But now that I'm thinking about it, it probably has things like lighter fluid in it.
Yeah, I think you'd probably want to get a clean bamboo charcoal.
Okay.
There's some
Cool.
tea companies that sell it. Probably would want to err on the side of buying from a merchant that's selling them specifically for tea.
I find that baking soda, boiling some water, leaving some water in the kettle, putting a teaspoon of baking soda, let that cool down, and just with a scour, and that comes off.
Okay, cool.
Just making it.
What water do you use, Sam?
Refrigerator water.
Yeah. That's probably it too.
It goes through whatever filter is in my refrigerator, which is better than nothing and not great.
Yeah.
But it's the water that I have. I definitely am not using remineralized whatever. I remember you mentioned getting shamed by a photographer for not remineralizing and boiling your water in crystals.
Here in Vegas, we have such bad water. Our water is much worse than yours. So even if you used an RO system, like a home RO system or a home filtration system from the refrigerator, it's still way too hard. You taste it and feel the difference in the water and the tea and drinking. So, you know, the best is spring water, but that's just like expensive and impractical from, you know, a conservation point of view. So I use the a filtered water, like the big filtered water, you know, like where you can fill your 5 gallons, like it has like 9 different layers of filtration. So it pretty much like cleans it totally out. So it has like nothing in it. So yeah, I should remineralize it if I want to like get it to the perfect way to brew tea, but I think that's a little overkill. You know, you got to pick your battles. But since I've switched over to like from mineral water to using that highly filtered water, I don't get any buildup on any of my kettles anymore. So that's been kind of convenient.
Yeah, I do go, the grocery store that I go to has a couple of those machines out front.
Mm-hmm.
And using my like auto kettle, I find that I go through about 10 gallons a week. That it usually takes me like a week to like 2 weeks to go through 2 5-gallon jugs. So generally, like every time I go to the grocery store, I fill one up.
Yeah, it's smart.
But in times of COVID, I haven't left the house in about a week and a half. I got my Google timeline email like last week about like all the places that I went in April. I traveled 70 miles in April.
Good for you.
It was pretty funny, like scrolling through the days and seeing nothing happening.
Not even dog walks?
Not that registered on my cell phone.
Oh, okay. Poor dogs.
No, a lot of the time if I'm walking the dogs, I don't take them. I don't take my phone.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, does it look like my dogs actually want to go anywhere?
I take Bitcoin on like a 5-mile hike, or not a hike, but just a walk, at least 5 miles every time I take him out. Just because I can, you know?
Yeah. After about 20 minutes, my dogs are like, can we go back inside and lay on the couch? So this was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And very relaxing. Thanks
Good,
for
I'm glad.
doing this.
Yeah. How many of us are online right now? I can't see. I'm on my phone.
It's a 6 now.
Yep, we're 6 now. We were probably as high as like 10 earlier.
Who were the other 2 folks that didn't speak? They've left now, but it was like Jorge and Carlos.
Jorge popped in for a second. Carlos left when I prompted him to start his video.
Oh, okay. I see.
Jorge, I met him in Mexico. He was a guy interested in tea podcasts, but I didn't know why he didn't introduce himself.
Mm.
Yep, I said hi. He appreciated being here, and I think he was kind of in the middle of something else and just popping in.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all related to the accessibility that I was saying, that like we could have different levels of engagement, you know, for different people that, you know, may not, you know that they're ready to fully commit to, you know, hopping in and interacting with these experiences, but still want to like get access to the knowledge, or, you know, get inspired to engage more in the future.
Right.
Well, then we might, you know, incorporate a different rule. Instead of everyone has to have the camera on because they might not be in a situation where they can't. It could be like, if you don't have the camera on, then you're not allowed to speak. And that way they can still hear it and they can still, you know, see what's going on. But we can still maintain that thing that we were saying. You are held accountable because people can see your face.
Yeah, I for the most part, I find that it's been pretty natural. I mean, today I made sure that the join link is just like right on the top of the Tea Talks page for anybody that is coming in. It just doing everything that we can to kind of decrease friction towards getting into the room. Brian and I have spent a lot of time going back and forth trying to smooth out that process, and we've made a lot of progress on that, I think.
And we have new toys that are soon to be.
Yeah, Elise wants to check out Topia for sure.
I found out that all of the issues that I was having went away when I switched to using Safari. So it seems, for me, it was a Google Chrome thing. So still, I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but I would love to play with people in it.
Yep.
So if we all stayed in the lobby, have no one gone into like the actual individual rooms, did we just like meet in the lobby of the tea house and just start a conversation, ever went to the rooms?
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand the question.
Well, when we enter the tea house, normally seeing you is like you're the gatekeeper, and then you would choose whatever room you would like to go into. But today, is there rooms that are being used, or are we just gathering here?
No, we've just gathered here today.
Yeah, so it's like this, the same as if we met in the lobby of the tea house or the entrance of the tea, we just start a conversation and stay there.
Yeah, we can have tea in the lobby. There's no reason to go visit the rest of the house.
That's it. I like that.
Though I'm glad that you picked up on when you moved the boxes in the attic and found yourself in mine. And so that room was displaying an art project that I work on with another friend. And it was exactly what you picked up on. It's meant to just be this kind of open space that you make with it what you will. And the fun part about it is there were actually join links to that same Zoom call in other parts of the house.
Yeah, I went into that Zoom by looking into the painting in the basement just as they were coming in from the attic, and we both joined at the same time, but they weren't in my prior space. So I was like, how did you get here? And then they're like, in the attic. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, wait, then we looked under some boxes. And it was just it was one of those conversations where like we were having it and then realizing like, this is ridiculous. It's like, it was like Burning Man. It's like, no one's going to believe me, you know, like. That was actually my favorite moment of the tea house was both of us going into the art piece from different directions of the house at the same time.
How was the flow? Did you make any kind of visualization of the average flow of a visitor to the tea house, Sam?
Brian gave me, let me pull up, I have the Google Analytics report for Mythos, which is about as granular as we were able to get. Let me pull that up. Hang on just a sec.
Yeah, and context about that is that usually people kept it open, and I could see the page stay open as long as it would stay open until the system thought that they were inactive. But they would click a Zoom, go out, and then Google Analytics would be like, all right, now this user has become inactive, and then they would go back in.
I see.
So this is when it started.
Mm-hmm.
And we got up to 82 users. And we were in like 9 countries.
Oh,
awesome!
So that's that's a metric that I love to look at, is how many different countries and how many different, in the US, how many states that's like looking at reach as like how far does our community span, and the idea that we are like all over the globe sitting having tea together is just like the coolest thing to me. But 7.5 pages per session is pretty cool as well. I mean, that means that people were like wandering around pretty well. Right, Brian? Am I reading that properly?
Yeah, I mean, Mythos just in general has very similar numbers to Wikipedia, which has some of the best numbers on the internet in terms of captivating attention. And the tea house was beyond what our normal was. Our normal was about 3 minutes and 3 seconds. This was 4, and so that means that people's attention was occupied for 4 minutes each time they were active. So if they left and went to a Zoom and then had a chat for 20 minutes and then came back to navigate the tea house, they spent another 4 minutes and went through another 7 pages before they left again to go to a different Zoom. So nerd speak for it went really well.
Does Jeremy have a foosball table that we're looking at here?
Oh, cool. You know what? He works out of a co-working space, so I wouldn't doubt if that's part of that space.
I'm gonna.
There he is.
It is a foosball table.
Yes.
Cool.
It's disassembled, and I'm putting it back together. But this is actually my house. I moved into a house over the last week.
Congratulations.
And so what was important is that it fit the foosball table. That was key. But it's funny, I got it from a guy who got it from an old bar, so it's still operated by quarters. And it's made of like 10 plywood, so it's kind of indestructible. It's fantastic.
That's the best.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I think I'm going.
No problem. I think it's probably about time we wrap this up. It's been a wonderful 2-hour session.
Yeah, thank you
I'm
so
always
much.
amazed that like time flies by when we sit and have tea, and then all of a sudden it's
Yeah.
been like 3 hours. Whoa!
Oh, nice pop up.
This is Chantel's birthday card for our friend. They're having a socially distant tea party.
That's so cool.
Wow. Great.
I'm glad to hear there's more socially distant tea parties happening.
Yeah, I always feel better after these. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Hey, Brian, can you drop the Topia link in chat? Elise, if you have a few minutes to play,
Yeah.
it would be worth popping into this other space.
All are welcome.
Everybody's welcome. It's a little.
They have an onboarding now, so it makes more sense.
Oh, good. So yeah, we're gonna pop. This is probably the future.
Future tea house.
Cool. I look forward to seeing it. Yeah. I think we should totally play around with that right now for a little bit.
There's other people in here.